Chapter 10 of Outa Karel's Stories by Sanni Metelerkamp. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Noel Badrian. The Animals' Dam. "Ach, it was dry," said Outa, "as dry as last year's springbok biltong. For a long time the old man in the sky shot down strong light and sucked all the water out of the veld. From morning to night he poured down hotness on the world, and when he rolled round to sleep, a hot wind blew and blew and blew, till he woke to shine again. The karoo bushes dried up, the rivers had no water, and the poor animals began to die from thirst. It was such a drought, my little masters, as you have never seen. At last Oom called the animals together to make a plan. The sun had gone under, and the Lady Moon was sailing in the sky, beautiful as she always is, and looking down on the hot world. Oom sat under a krantz on the morning side of a koppie, where it was a little cool, and the others sat round him like a watermelon slice. Leopard, hyena, babiaan, jakkals, hare and tortoise were in front. They were the chief ones. The smaller ones, like dassie, meerkat and hedgehog, were at the sides, and zebra, springbok, ostrich and giraffe waited in the veld to hear the news. They pretended to be eating, but all the time their ears went backwards and forwards, so, my baasjes, to catch every little sound, and they were ready at the first sign of danger to race away, kicking up the dust so that Oom would not be able to see them. But they needn't have been afraid. Oom was too hot and tired and weak to catch anything. He just sat against the krantz with his dry tongue hanging out, and the others just lay round about him in the watermelon slice with their dry tongues hanging out. And every time they looked at the sky to see if any clouds were coming up. But no, the sky was just like a big hot soap pot turned over above their heads, with the Lady Moon making a silver road across it, and the little stars shining like bits broken off the big hot sun. There was nothing that even looked like a cloud. At last Oom pulled in his tongue and rolled it about in his mouth to get the dryness off. When it stopped rattling, he began to talk. "Friends and brothers and nephews," he said. Yes, just like that Oom began. He was so miserable that he felt friendly with them all. "Friends and brothers and nephews, it is time to make a plan. You know how it is with a drought. When it is at its worst, the bottom of the clouds fall out, and the water runs away fast, fast to the sea, where there is too much water already, and the poor karoo is left again without any. Even if a land rain comes, it just sinks in, because the ground is too loose and dry to hold it. So we must make a plan to keep the water, and my plan is to dig a dam. But it's no use for one or two to work. Everyone must help. What do you say?" "Certainly," said the leopard. "Certainly," said the hyena. "Certainly," said the ant-bear. "Certainly," said jakkals, but he winked his eye at the Lady Moon, and then put his nose into the warm sand, so that no one could see his sly smile. All the other animals said certainly, and then they began to talk about the dam. Dear land, a person would never have said their throats were dry. Each one had a different plan, and each one talked without listening to the other. It was like a church bazaar. Yes, baasjes, long ago, when Outa was young, he was on a bazaar in the village. But he was glad, my baasjes, when he could creep into the veld again and get the noise out of his ears. At last the water tortoise, he with the wise little head under his patchwork shell, said, "Let us go now while it is cool and look for a place for the dam." So they hunted about and found a nice place, and soon they began to make the dam. Baasjes, but those animals worked. They scratched, they dug, they poked, they bored, they pushed and they rolled, and they all did their best, so that the dam could be ready when the rain came. Only lazy Jakhals did not work. He just roamed about saying to the others, "Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" Till at last they asked, "Why don't you do it yourself?" But Jakhals only laughed at them. "And why should I be so foolish as to scratch my nails off for your old dam?" he said. "But you said certainly too, when Oom asked us, didn't you?" they asked. Then Jakhals laughed more than ever. "Am I then a slave of my word? That was last night. Don't you know yet that a thing is one colour by moonlight and quite another colour when the sun shines on it?" So he went about bothering the poor animals that were working so hard, and laughing at them when they got hot and tired. "What's the use of working so hard? Those who do not work will also drink." "How do you know?" they asked. "Wait a bit, you'll see," said sly Jakhals, winking his eye again. At last the dam was finished, and that very night the rain began. It kept on, till the dam was quite full, and the water began to run away over the veld, down to the great big dam called the sea, that is the mother of all water, and so broad, my baasjes, that truly you can't see the wall at the other side, even when you stand on a high kopje. Yes, so Outa has heard from truth-telling people. The milk bushes and karoo bushes grew green again, and the little veld flowers burst out of the hard ground and opened their white and blue and pink and purple eyes to look at the sun. They were like variegated karosses spread out on the veld, and the old man in the sky was not so fierce any more. He did not burn them with his hotness, but looked at them kindly. And the animals were toch so glad for the water. From far and near they came to the dam to drink. But Jakhals was before them all. Soon after the sun went down — baasjes know the wild animals sleep in the daytime and hunt in the night — he went to the dam and drank as much water as he wanted, and filled his clay pot with some to take home. Then he swam round and round to get cool, making the water muddy and dirty, and when the other animals came to drink, he slipped over the dam wall and was lost in the veld, as if he had been a large pin. My, but Oom Leeuw was very angry. "Ooh!" he roared. "Ooh! What is this for a thing? Does the lazy one think he can share with the workers? Who ever heard of such a thing? Ooh! Here, Broer Babiaan, take this big kierie and hide yourself by the dam tonight, so that you can catch this vagabond, this water stealer." Early that night there was Jakhals again. He peeped this way and that way, so, my baasjes. And, yes, truly, there was old Broer Babiaan lying amongst the bushes. But Jakhals was too skelm for him. He made as if he didn't see him. He danced along on his hind legs, all in the round, at the edge of the dam, singing, "Hing ting ting, honna makading, my sweet, sweet water." He sang this over and over, and every time he came to the end of a line he dipped his fingers into his clay pot and sucked them. "Ah, but my honey is nice," he said, licking his lips. "What do I want with their old dirty water, when I have a whole pot full of nice sweet water?" Baasjes know baboons will do anything for honey. And when old Broer Babiaan heard Jakhals, he forgot he was there to guard the dam. He crept out from his hiding place a little nearer and a little nearer, and at last he couldn't keep quiet any longer. When Jakhals came dancing along again, he called out in a great hurry, "Good evening, Jakhals. Please give me a little of your sweet water too." "Arre!" said Jakhals, jumping to one side and pretending to be startled. "What a schrik you gave me! What are you doing here, Broer Babiaan?" "Ach no, Jakhals, I'm just taking a little walk. It's such a fine night." "But why have you got that big kierie?" "Only to dig out eintjies." "Do you really want some of my sweet water?" "Yes, please, Jakhals," said Broer Babiaan, licking his lips. "And what will you give me for it?" "I'll let you fill your pot with water from the dam." "Ach, I don't want any of that dirty old dam water. But I know how fond you are of this sweet water, Broer, so I'll let you drink some. Here, I'll hold your kierie while you drink." Broer Babiaan was in such a hurry to get to the honey that he just threw the kierie to Jakhals. But just as he was going to put his fingers into the pot, Jakhals pulled it away. "No, wait a bit, Broer," he said. "I'll show you a better way. It will taste much nicer if you lie down." "Ach no, really, Jakhals?" "Yes, really," said Jakhals. "And if you don't lie down at once, you won't get a drop of my sweet water." He spoke quite crossly, and Babiaan was so tame by this time that he was ready to believe anything, so he lay down, and Jakhals stood over him with his knapsack riem. "Now, brother, first I'll tie you with my riem, and then I'll feed you with the honey." "Yes, yes," said Broer Babiaan quickly. His mouth was watering for the honey. He couldn't think of anything else, and he had long ago forgotten all about looking after the dam. It goes so, my baasjes, when a person thinks only of what he wants and not of what he must. So he let Jakhals tie his hands and feet, and even his tail. And then he opened his mouth wide. But Jakhals only danced round and round, sticking his fingers into the pot and licking them and singing, "Hing, ting, ting, honna makka ding, my sweet, sweet water." "Where's mine?" called Broer Babiaan. "You said you would feed me. Where's my sweet water?" "Here's all the sweet water you'll get from me," said Jakhals, and kraks, he gave poor Broer Babiaan a hard hit with the kierie. "Borgom, borgom, help!" screamed Broer Babiaan, and tried to roll away. But there was no one to help him, so he could only scream and roll over, and each time he rolled over, Jakhals hit him again. Krak! At last he squeezed the clay pot, and baasjes can believe me, it had never had any honey in it at all, over Broer Babiaan's head, while he ran off and drank as much water as he wanted, and swam and stirred up the mud. Then he took the clay pot off Broer Babiaan's head, filled it with water, and danced off singing, "Hing, ting, ting, honna makka ding, my sweet, sweet water." "Goodbye, brother," he called out. "I hope you'll enjoy the sweet water you'll get from Oom Leeuw when he sees how well you have looked after the dam." Poor old Broer Babiaan was, so miserable, but he was even more unhappy after Oom Leeuw had punished him and set him on a large stone for the other animals to mock at. Baasjes, it was sad. They came in a long string, big ones and little ones, and each one stopped in front of the big stone and stuck out his tongue, then turned round and stuck out his tail. Yes, so rude they were to Broer Babiaan, till the poor old animal got ashameder and ashameder, and sat all in a heap, hanging down his head, and trying not to see how they were mocking at him. When all the animals had passed on and drunk water, Oom Leeuw untied Broer Babiaan and let him go, and off he went to the krantzes as fast as he could, with his tail between his legs. And that is all for tonight, my baasjes. It's too long to finish now. See, here comes Lies with the baasjes' supper, and Outa can smell that his aaskookies are burning by the hut." Evading the children's detaining hands, Outa sidled away, turning in the passage doorway to paw the air with his crooked fingers in token of a final farewell. End of The Animal's Dam. Chapter 11 of Outa Karel Stories by Sanni Metelerkamp. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Noel Badrian. Saved by his tail. "The end, Outa, please," said little Jan. "The end of The Animal's Dam. You said it was too long to finish last night." "Ah ja, my baasie, it's full of jakkals dry, and that's why it is so long. But it's near the end now." The night was old by the time the animals had finished with old Broer Babiaan, and the stars were going out. Only the big star that lasts the longest was travelling quickly by the Stars' Road to call the dawn. It began to get light already at the place where the shining old man gets up every day, and that meant it was time for the animals to fade away to their sleeping places. Oom Leeuw looked round on them. "Who will look after the dam tonight?" he asked. "I will," said a little voice, quickly. "Peep, peep." "And who is this that speaks from the ground?" asked Oom. "Let us find this brave one." They looked about in the sand, and there, under a milk bush near the dam, sat the water tortoise. He was nice and big, baasjes, as big as the lid of the soap pot, and his skinny legs were very strong. He stretched out his skinny neck and twinkled his little black eyes. "I'll look after the dam, Oom, and I'll catch the water spoiler for you." "How will you do that?" asked Oom Leeuw. "If Oom will just let someone rub my back with the sticky black stuff from the floor of the hives, then Oom will see what will happen." "This is a wise little man," said Oom Leeuw, and he ordered old brown sister Hyena, she with the limp in the left hind leg, to rub the water tortoise with the sticky stuff. That night, my baasjes, when Jakhals went to the dam to drink, he peeped about, but no, there was no one to guard the dam. Only a large black stone lay near the edge of the water. "Array, this is lucky," said Jakhals. "Such a nice large stone. I'll stand on it while I drink." He didn't know that the stone had a strong skinny neck, and on the end of the neck a head with little bright eyes that could see everything that was going on. So he gave a jump, and whoops, down he came onto the stone with his 2 front feet, and there they stuck fast to the sticky black stuff, and he could not move them. He tried and he tried, but it was no use. "Toever," he screamed, "Toever, let me go." "Peep, peep," said the little voice, "don't be frightened." "Who says I'm frightened, you old Toever stone?" asked the jakhals. "Though my front feet are fast, I can still kick with my hind feet." "Kick, kick, kick, and stick fast," said the little voice. So Jakhals kicked and kicked, and his hind feet stuck fast. There was a funny sound under the water, like water bubbling through a reed. It was the water tortoise laughing. "Neer, neer," said Jakhals, getting very cross. "I've still got a tail, and I'll beat you with it." "Beat, beat, beat, and stick fast," said the little voice. So Jakhals beat and beat, and his tail stuck fast. "Neer," he said again, very angry. "I've still got a mouth, and I'll bite you with it." "Bite, bite, bite, and stick fast," said the little voice. Jakhals opened his mouth and bit, and his mouth stuck fast. There he was, all in a bundle, sticking altogether fast to the black stone, and the more he tried to get free, the more he stuck fast. "Peep, peep," said the Water Tortoise, poking up his head and laughing. Then he marched to the top of the dam wall, where everyone could see the strange sight, and there he sat, all quiet and good, till the other animals came. Arre, they were glad when they saw Jakhals sticking to the Water Tortoise. They held a council and ordered him to be killed, and Broer Hyena, Old Brown Sister's husband, was to be the killer. They loosened Jakhal's mouth from the sticky stuff, so that he could talk for the last time. He was very sorry for himself. His voice was sick with sorriness, and he could hardly get the words out. "Thank you, Oom," he said. "I know I'm a wicked creature. It's better for me to die than to live and trouble everyone so much." Oom Leeuw and the other animals were wondering what kind of death the water stealer should die. "Chop my head off," said Jakhals. "Throw me in the fountain. But please, ach, please, don't shave my tail and hit me on the big stone." Oom Leeuw and the others were still putting their heads together. "Beat me with kerries, drown me in the dam," said Jakhals. "But don't, ach, please, don't smear my tail with fat and hit me on the big stone." Oom Leeuw and the others made as if they were taking no notice of him. "Chop me in little pieces, beat me with thorn branches," said Jakhals. "But please, ach, please, don't take me by the tail and hit me on the big stone." At last Oom Leeuw turned round. "Just as you say, it shall be done. Shave his tail," he said to the others. "Smear it with fat and hit his head on the big stone. Let it be done." So it was done, and Jakhals stood very still and sad while his tail was being shaved and smeared. But when Hyena swung him round, 1, 2, 3, fit, away he slipped and ran over the veld as fast as he could. All the others ran after him, but they were only running to catch, and he was running to live. So he went like the wind, and soon they were left far behind. He never stopped till he came to a mountain where a krantz hung over and made a kind of cave, and in he crept. The first to come after him was Oom Leeuw, who had run faster than the others. Jakhals watched Oom crawling in, and when Oom's head touched the top of the cave, he ran out calling, "Oom, Oom, the krantz is falling. If you don't hold it up, you'll be crushed to death. I'll run and get a pole to prop it up. But Oom must please wait till I come back." He left Oom plastering his head against the krantz to hold it up, while he shot away, and never stopped till he got safe home, where he rolled Bol Makissie over and over, laughing to think how he had cheated all the animals again. End of Saved by His Tail. Chapter 12 of Outa Karel Stories by Sanni Metelerkamp. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Noel Badrian. The Flying Lion. "Once upon a time," remarked Outa thoughtfully, "Oom Leeuw used to fly." "Ooh," said the children all together, and their eyes widened with terror at the picture called up by Outa's words. "Yes, my baasjes, and then nothing could live before him. His wings were not covered with feathers. They were like the wings of Brother Bat, all skin and ribs, but they were very big and very thick, and very strong. And when he wasn't flying, they were folded flat against his sides. When he was angry, he let the points down to the ground, trrr, like Oupa's turkey when he gobbles and struts before his wives. Trrr. And when he wanted to rise from the ground, he spread them out and flapped them up and down, slowly at first. So, my baasjes, then faster and faster, so, till he made a big wind with them and sailed away into the air. Outa flapped his crooked arms, and puffing out his disproportionate chest, seemed about to follow suit, but suddenly subsided again onto his stool. Ach, but it was a terrible sight. Then, when he was high above the earth, he would look down for something to kill. If he saw a herd of springbokkie, he would fly along till he was just over them, then pick out a nice fat one. Then he would stretch out his iron claws, fold his wings, and whoops, down he would fall on the poor bokkie before it had time to jump away. Yes, that was the way Oom Leeuw hunted in the olden times. There was only one thing he was afraid of, and that was that the bones of the animals he caught and ate would be broken to pieces. No one knew why, and everyone was too frightened of Oom Leeuw to try and find out. He used to keep them all at his home in the kranzes, and he had crows to look after them, 2 at a time, not like the ugly black crows that build in the willow trees near the dam, but white crows, the kind that come only once in many years. As soon as a white crow baby was found, it was taken to Oom Leeuw. That was his order. Then he kept it in the kranzes of the mountains and let it grow big. And when the old white crows died, the next eldest became watchman. And so there were always white crows to watch the bones when Oom Leeuw went hunting. But one day while he was away, Brother Big Bullfrog came along, hop, hop, hoppity hop, 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 hoppity hop, and said, "Why do you sit here all day, you white-head crows?" And the white crows said, "We sit here to look after the bones for Oom Leeuw." "Ah, but you must be tired of sitting," said Brother Big Bullfrog. "You fly away a little and stretch your wings. I will sit here and look after the bones." The white crows looked this way and that way, up and down and all round, but no, they couldn't see Oom Leeuw, and they thought, "Now is our chance to get away for a fly." So they said, "Craw, craw," and stretched out their wings and flew away. Brother Big Bullfrog called out after them, "Don't hurry back. Stay as long as you like. I will take care of the bones." But as soon as they were gone, he said, "Now I shall find out why Oom Leeuw keeps the bones from being broken. Now I shall see why men and animals can live no longer." And he went from one end to the other of Oom Leeuw's house at the bottom of the krantz, breaking all the bones he could find. Ach, but he worked quickly. Crack, 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 crack. Wherever he went he broke bones. Then when he had finished he hopped away, hop, hop, hoppity hop, 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 hoppity hop, as fast as he could. When he had nearly reached his dam in the veld, the white crows overtook him. They had been to the krantz, and foei, they were frightened when they saw all the broken bones. "Craw, craw," they said. "Brother Big Bullfrog, why are you so wicked? Oom Leeuw will be so angry. He will bite off our nice white heads. Craw, craw. And without a head, who can live?" But Brother Big Bullfrog pretended he didn't hear. He just hopped on as fast as he could, and the white crows went after him. "It's no good hopping away, Brother Bullfrog," they said. Oom Leeuw will find you wherever you are, and with one blow of his iron claws he will kill you." But old Brother Big Bullfrog didn't take any notice. He just hopped on, and when he came to his dam, he sat back at the edge of the water and blinked the beautiful eyes in his ugly old head, and said, "When Oom Leeuw comes, tell him I am the man who broke the bones. Tell him I live in this dam, and if he wants to see me, he must come here." The White Crows were very cross. They flew down quickly to peck Brother Big Bullfrog, but they only dug their beaks into the soft mud, because Brother Big Bullfrog wasn't sitting there any longer. Kabloops, he had dived into the dam, and the White Crows could only see the rings round the place where he had made a hole in the water. Oom Leeuw was far away in the veld, waiting for food, waiting for food. At last he saw a herd of zebras, the little striped horses that he is very fond of, and he tried to fly up so that he could fall on one of them, but he couldn't. He tried again, but no, he couldn't. He spread out his wings and flapped them, but they were quite weak, like Baas's umbrella when the ribs are broken. Then Oom Leeuw knew there must be something wrong at his house, and he was toch too angry. He struck his iron claws into the ground and roared and roared. Softly he began, like thunder far away rolling through the kloofs, then louder and louder, till hoo, hoo, the earth beneath him seemed to shake. It was a terrible noise. But all his roaring did not help him. He couldn't fly, and at last he had to get up and walk home. He found the poor White Crows nearly dead with fright, but they soon found out that he could no longer fly, so they were not afraid of him. "Ooh, ooh," he roared, "what have you done to make my wings so weak?" And they said, "While Oom was away, someone came and broke all the bones." And Oom Leeuw said, "You were put here to watch them. It is your fault that they are broken, and to punish you I am going to bite your stupid white heads off. Hoo!" He sprang towards them, but now that they knew he couldn't fly, they were not afraid of him. They flew away and sailed round in the air over his head, just too high for him to reach. And they called out, "Ha, ha, ha! Oom cannot catch us. The bones are broken and his wings are useless. Now men and animals can live again. We will fly away and tell them the good news." Oom Leeuw sprang into the air, first to one side and then to the other, striking at them, but he couldn't reach them. And when he found all his efforts were in vain, he rolled on the ground and roared louder than ever. The White Crows flew round him in rings and called out, "Ha, ha, ha, ha! He can no longer fly. He only rolls and roars. The man who broke the bones said, if Oom Leeuw wants me, he can come and look for me at the dam. Craw, craw!" And away they flew. Then Oom Leeuw thought, "Wait, I'll get hold of the one who broke the bones. I'll get him." So he went to the dam, and there was old Brother Bullfrog sitting in the sun at the water's edge. Oom Leeuw crept up slowly, quietly, like a skellum behind Brother Bullfrog. "Ha, now I've got him," he thought, and made a spring. But Brother Bullfrog said, "Ho!" and dived in, kabloops, and came up at the other side of the dam and sat there blinking in the sun. Oom Leeuw ran round as hard as he could, and was just going to spring when, kabloops! Brother Bullfrog dived in again and came up at the other side of the dam. And so it went on. Each time, just when Oom Leeuw had nearly caught him, Brother Bullfrog dived in, kabloops, and called out, "Ho!" from the other side of the dam. Then at last Oom Leeuw saw it was no use trying to catch Brother Bullfrog, So he went home to see if he could mend the broken bones. But he could not, and from that day he could no longer fly, only walk upon his iron claws. Also from that day he learnt to creep quietly like a skellum after his game, and though he still catches them and eats them, he is not as dangerous as he was when he could fly. And the white crows can no longer speak. They can only say, "Craw, craw." But old brother Big Bullfrog still goes hop, hop, hoppity hop round about the dam, and whenever he sees Oom Leeuw, he just says "Ho!" and dives into the water, kabloops, as fast as he can, and sits there laughing when he hears Oom Leeuw roar with anger. End of The Flying Lion. Chapter 13 of Outa Karel Stories by Sanni Metelerkamp. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Noel Badrian. Why the Heron has a Crooked Neck. The flames leapt gaily upward in the wide fireplace, throwing strange shadows on the painted walls and gleaming on the polished wood of floor and beam and cupboard. Little Jan basked contentedly in the warmth, almost dozing, now absently stroking the terrier curled up beside him, now running his fingers through the soft fur of the rug on which he lay. It was made of silver jackal skins, a dozen of them to judge from the 6 bushy tails spread out on either side, and as Outa Karel's gaze rested on them, he remarked reminiscently, "Arre, but Oom Jakkals was a slim kerel. No one ever got the better of him without paying for it." In an instant little Jan was sitting bolt upright, every symptom of sleep banished from his face. The book, from which Willem had been laboriously trying to gain some idea of the physical features of Russia, was flung to the far end of the rustbank, while Pietie, suspending for a brief moment his whittling of a catapult stick, slid along the floor to get within better sight and sound of the storyteller. Yes, my little masters, sometimes it was Oom Leeuw he cheated, sometimes it was Oubaas Babiaan or Oom Wolf, and once it was the poor little dove, and that is what made me think of how he was cheated himself. "Did the little dove cheat him?" asked Pietie eagerly. "No, Baassie, the dove is too frightened. Not stupid, Baassie, but like people are when they are too gentle and kind, and believe everything other people tell them. She was sitting on her nest one day singing to her little children, 'Coo, coo, coo,' when Oom Jakkals prowled along under the tree and heard her. 'Alle wereld, now I'll have a nice breakfast,' he thought, and he called out, 'Good morning, Tante. I hear you have such pretty little children. Please bring them down for me to see.' But the Tante was frightened of Jakkals and said, 'I'm sorry, Oom, they are not well today and I must keep them at home.' Then Jakkals lost his temper and called out, 'Nonsense, I'm hungry and want something to eat, so throw down one of your little children at once.' Baasjes know sometimes crossness drives away frightenedness, and Tante was so cross with Oom Jakkals for wanting to eat one of her little children that she called out, 'No, no, you bad Jakkals, I shall do nothing of the sort. Go away and look for other food.' 'If you don't, I'll fly up and eat them all,' said Jakkals. 'Throw one down at once.' And he stamped about and made such a horrible noise that poor Tante thought he was really flying up. She looked at her babies. There wasn't one she wanted to give, but it was better to lose one than have them all eaten. So she shut her eyes and fluttered about the nest till one of them fell out. And Jakkals caught it in his mouth and carried it off to his hole to eat. Ach, but the poor Tante was sad. She spread her wings over her other children and never slept all night, but looked about this way and that way with her soft eyes, thinking every little noise she heard was Oom Jakhals trying to fly up to her nest to gobble up all her babies. The next morning there was Oom Jakhals again. "Tante, your child was a nice juicy mouthful. Throw me down another, and make haste, do you hear, or I'll fly up and eat you all." "Coo, coo, coo," said Tante, crying. "No, I won't give you one." But it was no use, and in the end she did what she had done before, just shut her eyes and fluttered round and round till a baby fell out of the nest. She thought there was no help for it, and like some people are, she thought what the eye didn't see, the heart wouldn't feel. But her heart was very sore, and she cried more sadly than ever, and this time she said, "Ooh, ooh, 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 ooh." It was very sad and sorrowful to listen to. Ooh, 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 ooh. Here came old Oom Reijer. He is a kind old bird, though he holds his neck so crooked and looks like there was nothing to smile at in the whole wide world. "Ach, why do you cry so sadly, Tante? It nearly gives me a stitch in my side." "Ooh, ooh, I'm very miserable. Oom Jakhals has eaten 2 of my little children, and tomorrow he will come for another, and soon I shall have none left." "But why did you let him eat them?" "Because he said if I didn't give him one, he would fly up and eat them all. Ooh, ooh, ooh." Then Oom Reijer was very angry. He flapped his wings and stretched out his long neck. "So, my baasjes, just so." The children hugged themselves in silent delight at Outa's fine acting, and he opened and shut his long beak to show how he would like to peck out Oom Jakhals's wicked eyes, if he could only catch him. "That verflaxte Jakhals," he said, "to tell such lies. But Tante, you are stupid. Don't you know Oom Jakhals can't fly? Now listen to me. When he comes again, tell him you know he can't fly, and that you won't give him any more of your children." The next day there came Oom Jakhals again with his old story, but Tante just laughed at him. "Ach no, you story-telling bushy tail," she said. "I won't give you any more of my little children, and you needn't say you'll fly up and eat them, because I know you can't." "Nee, nee," said Oom Jakhals, growling. "How did you know that?" "Oom Reijer told me, so there," said Tante, "and you can just go to your mother." My, but Tante was getting brave now that she knew that she and her little children were safe. That was the worst insult you can ever give a grown-up Jakhals, and Oom Jakhals growled more than ever. "Never mind," he said at last. "Tante is only a vrouwmens. I won't bother with her any more. But wait till I catch Oom Reijer. He'll be sorry he poked his long nose into my business, the old meddler," and he trotted off to look for him. He hunted and hunted, and at last he found him standing on one leg at the side of the river, with his long neck drawn in and his head resting on his shoulders. "Good day, Oom Reijer," he said politely. "How is Oom today?" "I'm all right," answered Oom Reijer shortly, without moving an inch. Jakhals spoke in a little, small voice. Ach, toch, so humble. "Oom, please come this way a little. I'm so stupid, but you are so wise and clever, and I want to ask your advice about something." Oom Reijer began to listen. It is maar so when people hear about themselves. He put down his other leg, stretched out his neck, and asked over his shoulder, "What did you say, eh?" "Come toch this way a little. The mud over there is too soft for me to stand on. I want your valuable advice about the wind. The other people all say I must ask you, because no one is as wise as you." Truly Jakhals was a slim kerel. He knew how to stroke Oom Reijer's feathers the right way. Oom Reijer came slowly over the mud. A person mustn't show he is too pleased. He even stopped to swallow a little frog on the way. And then he said, careless-like, "Yes, I can tell you all about the wind and weather. Ask what you like, Jakhals." His long neck twisted about with pride. "Oom, when the wind is from the west, how must one hold one's head?" "Is that all?" said Oom Reijer. "Just so." And he turned his head to the east. "Thank you, Oom. And when the wind is from the east?" "So." Oom Reijer bent his neck the other way. "Thank you, Oom," said the little small voice, so grateful and humble. "But when there is a storm and the rain beats down, how then?" "So," said Oom Reijer, and he bent his neck down till his head nearly touched his toes. My little masters, just as quick as a whip snake shoots into its hole, so Jakhals shot out his arm and caught Oom Reijer on the bend of his neck. Crack! And in a minute the poor old bird was rolling in the mud with his neck nearly broken, and so weak that he couldn't even lift his beak to peck at the false wicked eyes that were staring at him. Oh, how glad was cruel Jakhals! He laughed till he couldn't any more. He screamed and danced with pleasure. He waved his bushy tail, and the silver mane on his back bristled as he jumped about. "Ha, ha, ha! Oom thought to do me a bad turn, but I'll teach people not to interfere with me. Ha, ha, ha! No one is as wise as Oom Reijer, hey? Then he will soon find out how to mend his broken neck. Ha, ha, ha!" Jakhals gave one last spring right over poor Oom Reijer, and danced off to his den in the koppies to tell Tante Jakhals and the little Jakhalsies how he had cheated Oom Reijer. And from that day, baasjes, Oom Reijer's neck is crooked. He can't hold it straight, and it's all through trying to interfere with Jakhals. That is why I said Jakhals is a slim kerel. Whether he walks on 4 legs or on 2, the best is, ma, to leave him alone, because he can always make a plan, and no one ever gets the better of him without paying for it in the end. End of Why the Heron Has a Crooked Neck. Chapter 14 of Outa Karel Stories by Sanni Metelerkamp. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Noel Badrian. The Little Red Tortoise. "No Jakhal's story tonight, please, Outa," said little Jan, as they gathered round the fire. "We all think Jakhals was a cruel, horrid creature, eating the poor little doves, and cracking the good heron's neck." "Yes," chimed in Pietie, "he was always playing wicked tricks, so no more Jakhals for us. What will you tell us tonight, Outa?" "Something really nice," suggested Willem, "and not unkind." Outa's beady black eyes twinkled from one to another of his little masters, while an affectionate smile spread over his yellow face, accentuating the wrinkles which crisscrossed it in every direction. Ach, the soft young hearts! Outa's heart was like that once too, but— he shook his head— if the heart doesn't get a little taai, like a biltong, it is of no use to a person in this old hard world. He deposited his shapeless hat on the floor, tapped his red kopdoek with a claw-like forefinger, and waited for an inspiration. It came from an unexpected quarter, for suddenly there was a commotion at the end of his old coat, the tails of which hung down nearly to the floor, and, diving into his pocket, the old man triumphantly produced a squirming tortoise. "See what Outa caught for the baasjes near the Klipkop this afternoon. A nice little bergskilpad. Now Baas Willem can put it in his kraal with the others and let it lay eggs. It is still young, but it will grow, yes, so big." A cartwheel might have been comfortably contained in the circle described by Outa's arms. It was a nobly dark-marked tortoise, quite unlike those the little boys generally found in the veld near the house, and they took possession of it with delight and suggestions as to a name. After discussion, honours were equally in favour of Piet Retief and Mrs. van Riebeck, and it was decided that the casting vote should be left to Cousin Minnie, the children's governess. For a long time they had kept tortoises of all sorts and sizes in their skilpad kraal, and so tame and intelligent had some of these creatures grown that they would come when called, and big old Voltemade roamed about at will, often disappearing for a time and returning to his companions after a few days in the veld. Outa turned the new acquisition on its back on the jackal skin rug, where it lay wriggling and going through the strangest contortions. Ah, the wise little man! Is it there its mother sprinkled it with buchu? There, just under its arm? He touched the skinny underside of one of its forelegs. Footnote: Buchu is an aromatic veld herb from which a decoction is made. Sprinkling buchu under the arm is a Hottentot custom in token of approval. End of footnote. Here, Baas Willem, put it in the soap boxie till tomorrow. Ach, if only it had been a red tortoise, how glad Outa would have been. A red tortoise, echoed Pietie and little Jan, while Willem hurried back from the passage to hear all about it. And have baasjes then never heard of a red tortoise? Yes, certainly. Sometimes a red one is born, but not often. Only once in 1,000 years. And when this happens, the news is sent round, because it is such a wonderful thing, and the whole nation of skilpads, those frogs with bony shields and hard beaks, are glad, because they know the little red one has come to help them against their enemies. Once, a long, long time ago, a mother skilpad laid an egg in a shallow hole in the sand, just where the sun could warm it all the day, and she scraped a little sand over it, so that no one could see it. See, baasjes, she was afraid of thieves. It was white and round, and so large that she felt very proud of it, and she often went to see how it was getting on. One day, as she got near the place, she heard a little voice, "Peep, peep, Mama, Mama, come and find me." So she called out, "Kinter, Kinter, here's your Mama." My, but she walked fast. Her short legs just went so. Outa's arms worked vigorously, and when she got to the karoo bush where she had put the egg, the shell was broken and a little red tortoise was sitting alongside of it. His shell was soft, and you could see everything inside of him, and how the blood went this way and that way. But never mind, it is maar so with little tortoises. He was fine and healthy, and everything about him was quite red. Alle wereld, old Mama was proud. She went and told all her friends, and they came from all sides to see the little red tortoise. There were berg tortoises and vlachte tortoises and zandkruipers, and even water tortoises, young and old, and they all sat round and praised him and gave him good advice and nice things to eat. He listened to everything and ate all the nice things, and grew bigger and redder and harder, but he didn't talk much. And the old ones nodded to each other and said, "Ach, but he is sensible." But the young ones said, "Ach, but he is stuck up." And they went away and crawled in the red clay to make themselves red, but it was no good. In a little while it all rubbed off. At last all the visitor skilpads went home again, but the little red tortoise stayed with his Mama, and went on growing bigger and redder and harder, and his Mama was toch so proud of him. When he walked in the veld, and the other young tortoises said to him, Come, we'll show you the way to do things. You must do so, and you must do so. He said, you can do so if you like, but I'll do things my own way. And they said, stuck-up red thing, wait, Ouba's giraffe will get you. But they left him alone, and although they all wished they were red, they did not crawl in the clay any more. They knew it was no good. It was only from outside, so it soon rubbed off. But the little red one's redness was from inside, and baasjes know, for a thing to be any good, it must be on the inside. He glanced involuntarily at the wall cupboard where his soopy was safely locked up. It would certainly not be any good, in his opinion, till it was on the inside of him. But when the old tortoises gave him advice, the little red tortoise listened and thanked them. He was a wise little man. He knew when to speak and when to hold his tongue. At that time, my baasjes, the whole tortoise nation was having a hard time with Ouba's giraffe. That old horse with the long neck and the unequal legs, who is all white and black like a burnt thorn bush, with crows sitting on it. The mimosa bush is white when burnt by the sun. He gives blue ashes when he is burnt, therefore is he called the Blue One. He had taken to eating tortoises. They didn't know what to do. They tried to make a plan, but no, they could find no remedy. Whenever Ouba's giraffe saw a nice young tortoise that he could easily swallow, he picked it up in his mouth, and from fright it pulled its head and all its feet into its shell, and whoops, one swallow, and it had sailed down the Blue One's long throat, just like baasjes sail down the plank at the side of the skeer kraal. The little red tortoise listened to the plans that were made, and at last he thought of a plan. He was not sure how it would go, but he was a brave little one, and he thought by himself, if it goes wrong, there will be no more little red tortoise. But if it goes right, then the whole tortoise nation will be able to live again. So what did he do, my baasjes? He crawled out far into the veld and sat in the path where the old Blue One liked to walk. Soon he heard woof, 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 coming nearer and nearer. Then the noise stopped. The little red one peeped from under his shell. Yes, there was the great Blue One standing over him and looking very fierce. Do you know, little red tortoise, in one moment I could trample you to death? The little red one was very frightened, for this was not his plan, but he said nothing. Do you know, little red tortoise, in one moment I could swallow you? Ah, how glad was the little red tortoise! But he only said in a small little voice, Yes, noble Blue One, I belong to the nation whom it is the custom to swallow. Please swallow me. Ouba's giraffe picked him up and gave a little gulp, and the little red tortoise slipped halfway down his long throat. But, oh yeah, here a strange thing happened. The little red one would go no further. Instead of drawing in his head and legs and slipping down like a stone, like all the other tortoises had done, he wanted to see where he was going, so he stuck out his head and fastened his sharp little nails into Ouba's giraffe's gullet, and there he hung like a bat on a wall. Go down, little tortoise, you choke me." The old Blue One could hardly speak, his throat was so full of tortoise. "Peep, peep," said the little red one, and held on more tightly than ever. Come up, little tortoise, you kill me." The old Blue One was stamping and gurgling now. "Peep, peep," said the little red one, and hung on with his hard bent beak as well. He thought, "No, too many of my nation have sailed down this red sloot. I won't let go." I tell you, baasjes, Ouba's giraffe danced and pranced over the veld. He screamed and bellowed, he gurgled and swallowed. He tried to get the little red tortoise down, and he tried to get him up, but it was no use. The little red one clung fast to him till he was quite choked, and sank down in the sand and died. Then the little red tortoise crawled out and went home to tell his mamma that he had killed Ouba's giraffe, and that his nation could have peace again. Ah, but she was proud of him. "It's not for nothing you were born red," she said. "Come here, my little crab, that I may put buchu under your arm. Come, my crooked-legged little one, let your mother sprinkle you with buchu." When she had sprinkled him with buchu, they went and told their friends, and all the tortoise nation rejoiced, and went and had a great feast off Ouba's giraffe as he lay dead in the veld. And they thought more of the little red tortoise than ever. Even the young ones, who had been angry with him, said, "He is wiser than we are. We will listen to what he says. Perhaps after all there is something in being born a certain colour." End of The Little Red Tortoise. Chapter 15 of Outa Karel Stories by Sanni Metelerkamp. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Noel Badrian. The Ostrich Hunt. The next day, all the time that was not given to lessons and meals was spent by the little boys in scouring the veld for a red tortoise. Disappointment at their fruitless search found vent in no measured terms when Outa Karel appeared in the dining room at his usual hour. "Ach, to hear them now," he said, regarding them with his wide-mouthed smile of amused tolerance. "Does it then rain red tortoises? And how can the baasjes think they will find at the first shot a thing that only comes once in 1,000 years?" "Well," said Willem stoutly, "it might just have been the time for one. How were we to know?" "Outa," asked little Jan earnestly, "do you know when it will be red tortoise time again?" "Ah ja, baasje," said Outa readily, "it won't be long now. Let Outa think." He performed a tattoo on the red kopdoek, a sure sign that he was in the thick of mental gymnastics. "What comes just before 1,000, my baasjes?" 999, answered Pietie, who was good at arithmetic. "Now yes," said Outa triumphantly, "I knew it must be nearly time. It is 999 years since there was a red tortoise. So next year this time, baasjes, can begin to look for one. Only begin, my baasjes, because it will only be creeping out of the egg then, and perhaps it won't be in this veld. It might be far, far away, where people don't know about a red tortoise, and so no one will look for him. Must Outa tell you another story about him?" The sly old man had taken the best way of escaping more questions. The little boys gathered round and listened wide-eyed as he told the story of the tortoises hunting the ostriches. After Ouba's giraffe was dead, the tortoises had a nice life for a long time. And then there came into their veld old Three Sticks, the ostrich, with his mamma and papa, and his wives and uncles and aunties and children and friends. Allah, there were a lot of ostriches. The whole veld was full of them, and they all began eating tortoises wherever they could find them. It was just the same like when Ouba's giraffe used to go about, and the tortoises thought and thought, and they talked and talked, but they couldn't make a plan that would drive the ostriches away. The little red tortoise was thinking too, but he didn't talk till he had his plan ready. Then he called all the tortoises together. The old ones came because they wanted to hear what the wise little red one had to say. And the young ones came because ever since he had killed Ouba's giraffe, they had listened to him. When they were all together, he said, "It now goes on too long, this hunting of tortoises by old Three Sticks and his friends. Let us change places, and let us, the tortoise people, go and hunt ostriches." "Peep, peep," cried all the young tortoises. They were quite ready, but the old ones said, "Is this the wise little red one? How is it possible for us to hunt ostriches?" "It is possible because ostriches never run straight, but always a little in the round and a little in the round, so that in the end, if they run long enough, they come again to the place they began from. Now, yes, on a certain day let us then go into the veld where the ostriches like to hunt, and let us make 2 long rows, not straight out, but always in the round, one ring very large outside, and the other smaller inside. Then, when old Three Sticks and his friends come, we will call to one another and drive them on, and they will flee through the midst of us, round and round, till they can flee no longer." "Peep, peep," said the young tortoises, and the old ones joined in. They saw that it was a good plan. So they all went to the hunting veld of old Three Sticks and his friends, and spread themselves out, as the little red tortoise had said. Soon the ostriches came, pecking, pecking as they walked. The tortoises sat very still, waiting, my baasjes, just waiting, till the ostriches were right in the middle of the 2 rings. Then the little red tortoise gave the signal, "Peep, peep," and at once the calling began. "Are you there?" called the first tortoise. "I am here," said the next, and so it went on all round the circle, one calling to the other. "What are you doing?" called the first one. "Hunting ostriches," said the next, and so it went on all round the circle again, one calling to the other. The ostriches could see nothing. They could only hear voices calling. They looked at each other and said, "What are these voices? It is surely a great army come to hunt us. Let us get away." They were very frightened and began to run, and as far as they ran they heard, "Are you there?" "I am here." "What are you doing?" "Hunting ostriches." So it went on over and over again. The tortoises never moved, only kept calling out, and the ostriches ran faster and faster, all in the round, till at last they were so tired they couldn't run any more. First one fell, then another, and another, and another, till there were heaps of them lying about, and just where they fell they lay quite still. They were too tired to move. Then the tortoises gathered together. They were very many, and they bit old Three Sticks and all his family and friends on their long necks and killed them. Since then the tortoises have had peace from the long-necked people, Ouba's giraffe and old Three Sticks. It is only the things of the air, like crows and lammervangers, that still hunt them. And baasjes know how they do. They catch a poor tortoise in their claws and fly away with him high up over a koppie, and then they drop him on the stones, kabloops, and there he lies with his shell all broken, and without a shell how can a tortoise live? And then the thing of the air comes and eats him up, and that is the end of the poor tortoise. But a red tortoise they never touch. It is his colour, baasjes, that frightens them. So the young tortoises were right when they said, there is something after all in being born a certain colour. After the ostrich hunt, the little red tortoise was sprinkled with buchu under both arms, and his mamma sang him this song. The little crooked-legged one, I could sprinkle it with buchu under its arms. The little red crab, the little wise one, I sprinkle the buchu under both arms. For the long necks, they ate us. It has found a way to kill them. So we sprinkle it, the little red one, sprinkle the buchu under both arms." The usual discussion took place when Outa had finished, and at last Pietie said, "If I had to be a tortoise, I'd be a red one." "Why, my little master?" "Because the crows and lammervangers don't catch it. To be swallowed by an ostrich or stick in a giraffe's throat would not be so bad. But I'd hate to be broken on the stones." "Ach, my baasje, no matter how old friend Death comes, we are never ready for him. When Outa was young, he was nearly killed by a troop of springbucks, and he thought, 'No, not toch trampled to death. To be carried down the river is better.' But when the flood came and the river carried Outa away, he fought for his life just as hard as when the springbucks were on him. It was the same when the hut was burnt, and when the mad bull chased Outa across the veld. Over and over again the same. Always another sort of death seems better. Always old friend Death finds a man not quite ready for him." "And now, how would you like him to find you, Outa?" asked Willem with much interest. A whimsical smile spread over the old man's face. "Ach, to hear him! Just sitting in the sun, my baasje, by the Skloot wall, where I have sat for so many, many years. When he comes, I will say, 'Morning, old friend. You have been a long time on the road. Ach, so long that I am tired of waiting. Let us go at once.' A person needn't pack up for that trek, baasjes. I'll just drop my old sheepskin kaross and take old friend Death's hand and let him show me the way. It is far, my baasjes, far to that land, and no one ever comes back from it. Then someone else will tell the stories by the fire. There will be no Outa any more to talk to the little masters." His voice had dropped to a musing tone. "Don't, don't," cried Pietie in a choked voice. "Outa, you mustn't say such things," said Willem, and they each seized one of Outa's crooked hands, while little Jan clung to his old coat as though he would never let it go. "I want my Outa," he cried. "He mustn't go away. I want my Outa Karel." The old man's eyes glistened with a moisture not often seen in them. "Still, still, my little baasjes," he said, stroking first one then another. "Outa doesn't want to make them sad. He is not going yet. He will sit here and tell his foolish stories for many nights yet." A caressing smile broke over his grotesque face. "And do they then want to keep their Outa? Ach, to think of it, the kind little hearts. But what will the Nooi say if the eyes are juicy? No, Outa only said about the Skloot and sitting in the sun because it sounds so nice and friendly. Look how lively and well Outa is, like a young bull calf." He pretended playfully to toss them. "That's right, my children. Now you laugh again. But young bull calves must also go in the kraal. And the hut is calling Outa. Night, my baasjes. Night, night. Sleep well. Tomorrow Outa will tell them another beautiful story. Ach, the dear little ones, so good to their ugly Outa." Followed by a chorus of good nights from the children, the old man shuffled away, not knowing that he had spoken with prophetic voice, and that friend Death would find him, even as he wished, sitting in the sun by the Skloot. But that was not yet a while, and he told many stories before setting out on the great trek for the unknown veld whence no traveller returns. End of the Ostrich Hunt, and End of Outa Karel Stories, South African Folklore Tales by Sanni Metelerkamp.